Hello, friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcast. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that, than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that. It'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today. You know how we love to applaud people that do great things in the preservation of football. Well, one of our good friends, Tim Brown, is on this segment every week on Tuesdays, and PigskinDispatch.com has done something magnificent, so good it was recognized by the National Archives and the federal government of the United States. Tim's got the story coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with PigskinDispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at SportsHistoryNetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And it is Tuesday, and once again, we have our friend from FootballArchaeology.com, Timothy P. Brown, the historian, the author, the great researcher of football. Tim Brown, welcome back to the Pig Pen.
Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Darren. Looking forward to chatting once again.
Yeah, Tim, you have a very interesting topic that you brought up that you want to discuss tonight. It's about something with the National Archives that you were able to be a part of, and hoping you could explain that to us and share it with us, and maybe some of us can get out there and witness it ourselves.
Yeah, so I posted a thing about this on my on football archaeology, but so basically what happened is I was invited to attend like a pre-opening of a new exhibit at the National Archives. And, if it was the first time that I had been there, but, if you've been to DC and you checked out the National Archives Museum, in the rotunda, they've got the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And then they have one room off to the side that has all kinds of, kind of the history of the archives and the types of records they maintain, et cetera. And then in the other direction is their special exhibits hall. And so they recently opened an exhibit called All American, the Power of Sports. And so it's essentially it's an exhibit that will be open for another like 14 months or so. But it's all about the role of sports in bringing different types of people together, and so in some cases, what they're it's kind of the emergence of the opportunities for African Americans in sports, for people of different ethnic backgrounds in sports, and women as well. And so that's the general theme, and they've just got some really they've got some incredibly cool items, a diary or autobiography, that now I'm blanking on his first name, but big boxer Johnson wrote while he was in, the federal penitentiary. Just there were all kinds of just really interesting artifacts, some things from, Japanese internment camps. I mean, you name it, there's, a little bit of everything. And it was, really nice event. I got to meet Anita Thorpe, Jim Thorpe's granddaughter, because one of the items on display are his replacement medals, from the 1912 Olympics. Dikembe Mutombo was the featured speaker, so he gave a talk and had a chance chat with him, and there are another, I don't know, half a dozen former NBA guys there.
Did he shake his finger back at you?
Yeah,
telling
well,
you
I got close enough for him to strike me or wave his finger at me, but I tried to play nice with him. So
Okay.
no, he's really wonderful guy, and he's doing some great work raising funds for some challenges that are in Africa today. But anyways, and so the reason I was invited is because I had gotten involved in did a lot of research on a story about within the past year, the National Archives was processing some photographs, some old slides actually from West Point, and the guy who was doing the processing noticed that these were negatives, so anyways, it's negatives. He noticed that one of them, instead of all the people in the negative having black faces in negative, they had white faces. So he's like, oh, what's going on? So anyways, he checked it out, and it turned out to be this 1920s football team that represented the West Point Cavalry Detachment. So they were Buffalo soldiers, so African-American men, and they were basically enlisted men stationed at West Point who taught, maintained the stables and the horses, but also taught horseback riding, etc., and cavalry tactics to the cadets. Many of whom grew up in a city and maybe didn't have a lot of experience in horsemanship. But these guys ended up, having sports teams, and West Point had an enlisted men's league. So there was a group of enlisted men who helped teach the cadets artillery tactics, and there were other people in like medical, and there were other people, so there were different functions, and each of them fielded a team. So as I was, I basically tried to figure out who these guys were, and because there was an article in the Washington Post about it that hadn't gotten into the details. So I basically figured out who these guys played. I was able to find images of the 28, 29, and 30 teams, in the old, Spalding type, football guides. And so, basically I could start identifying who some of these guys were in the picture. And while I was doing that research, I ended up seeing this trophy that a guy had online on a collectors group on Facebook. And it was like, it's a trophy for this West Point enlisted men's league awarded to the cavalry detachment. So I got a hold of them, and one thing led to another. We've become friends. Ron Pomfrey is the owner, but when I wrote this stuff up, then the National Archives somehow came across it, and so they reached out to the combination of Ron and I, and so he has his trophy is on loan to the archives and is part of the exhibit. So wow. It's just so that's why the two of us were invited to this thing, and had a wonderful time, and so it was just a great event, and there's some people there who are just kind of, we're staying in touch, and just I don't want to go into the names right now, but I'll just
well, that'd be very, very cool. What an honor to have something that you wrote be recognized by the National Archives, and you get invited to go down there and celebrate this great sports heritage that we have seen here in the United States, along with the owner of the trophy. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah. So it was really fun, and just it's a great exhibit. And so if you live in the area generally, or if you have plans to go to Washington, check it out. You could do it inside of an hour probably, and get a pretty good, pretty thorough going through, but it really, it's a fun exhibit. And then the other reason I just want to point it out is that I have been trying to find ways to get some publicity around some of the research that I've done, because I've kind of hit a wall, and So anybody out there who's listening to this, who is aware of an ancestor who was with the cavalry detachment at West Point in the 20s, please take a look at the site, because I may have images of your grandfather, great uncle, great, whatever it may be, whatever the relationship may be. So I'm trying to get people to go out there to see if we can identify some additional, some more of these men, right? I probably figured out about who half of them are, tracked them down through census records and everything, but there's others. All I have is a last name, and I just haven't been able to get anywhere with them.
Yeah, if we could get them recognized, that would be so awesome to have them, preserved in the history as well, and get that recognition they deserve for being, such a pioneer and a trailblazer for what they did. So
yeah. And just for all the folks out there, if it just be cool to kind of learn something. I reached out to one or two people who they weren't aware that their grandfather or great uncle had been on these teams. So it was something, they learned something new.
Yeah. Definitely very cool. Okay, now I'm going to expose my ignorance, at least my ignorance in one area. I have many ignorances, but okay, the National Archives, we know Washington, D.C., is that connected to the Smithsonian and the Library of Congress, or are they all separate entities?
Boy, yeah. In terms of organizational structure on that, I do not know. I mean, I think the archives, I think, basically their basic charge is to maintain the history of all public records. So obviously they're involved in some of the things going on now with Mar-a-Lago, et cetera. But, that's their main charge. And so, I mean, they've got census records. They've got all kinds of geologic and, you name it, just all kinds of things that, one government entity or another generated. The military, personnel records, fall under them. So, I mean, they've got a massive charge. They got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
So.
All right. So maybe it's a little different. The Smithsonian is just all the other stuff that's the things, and the archives is the records and the documentation and data that's collected. Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Tim, very much appreciate you joining us. Before we let you go, why don't you share with us your website and how people can stay in touch with you and learn about what you share with your tidbits?
Yeah, so my website is footballarchaeology.com. It's a Substack site, if that means anything to you. But basically, just go to the address footballarchaeology.com. You can subscribe there. That'll result in you getting an email every day with whatever that day's story is. You can also follow me on Twitter, and I'm Football Archaeology there as well. So following on Twitter is great, but the unfortunate thing is you might miss a couple of episodes here and there. So, whereas if you subscribe, you're going to get every one of them. You can still delete them if you don't want to read them, but. Anyways,
if you miss it, you don't have time to read it, save it in your inbox, and you can double the pleasure the next day. So that's
and most of them take less than a minute to read. So, they're pretty quick.
Well, good stuff as always. Congratulations again on that great honor of being recognized and getting to go down there and on that visit with your friend who has the trophy. So, Tim, we enjoy your company each and every Tuesday. Hope that we can continue to do this and talk to you again next Tuesday and get some more football archaeology brought into the pig pen. So thanks, Tim.
Hey, very good. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate it as always.
We're taking a peek over at the chains and the down marker. It's 4th and long. We're going to have to punt the ball and get on out of here, but we'll have another series tomorrow for your football history headlines, so be sure to tune in. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Jean Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast. PigskinDispatch.com is a proud affiliate of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of sports yesteryear.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction, in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so it
retro
was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
classics.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, sports writer. Coming soon.